We are here. Jeremy Booth is here. Like to say that we could have had a podcast last week, but someone was big leaguing me, and he was in Toronto and saying, "Oh yeah, at some point," and then, yeah, didn't happen. Come on, Jeremy.
I mean, just, it was busy. I don't know what to say. I mean, I was up there in Toronto. I had a lot of stuff to do. I got this cool hat, you know, got this cool
Ooh,
hat in
that is cool.
Rogers Center, which has become one of my favorite stadiums. Um, and saw some things up there with that club, and we played the Rays, so I got another look at them, and it was interesting. It was interesting to watch, how with the Jays, the personnel they have, because we saw them in Houston, right? And that's actually for you and me, that's my ninth game with the big league club for them. So I've seen them a little bit. Um, you know, saw one of my favorite guys ever in Kevin Gausman, and ball was up in the zone a little bit, a lot of four seam stuff, and then he was doing this and like they had something. And I say that because a couple of games had some other business to do and was running up and down the highway a little bit. So it was an interesting 10 days. I'm only home for a couple, and then I'm bouncing back out to the next stop. That time of year, bud.
The news on Sunday, Hayden Wesneski lost for the year due to Tommy John surgery. So now you have Hayden Wesneski on the shelf. Spencer Arrighetti is not pitching because of his issue after getting hit during BP, his finger. Who knows what's going to happen with Luis Garcia this year? Same with Christian Javier, Lance McCullers Jr., night in, night out. Who knows what the Astros are going to get from him? I thought at the beginning of the season the Astros didn't have enough starting pitching.
You can never have
reached the point, Jeremy, of pushing a panic button for the Astros and their starting pitching.
You always push a panic button for starters because relievers are volatile, right? So you never know what you got. For me, Lance McCullers helps the bullpen. I've been saying this from the beginning, and I know that was not the question, but it actually does answer the question. If you have the guys in AAA you think are relievers anyway, that are going to help the big league club at some point in that capacity, then you're now searching again for starting pitching is the answer. Javier can't come back if you're in the rotation, if and when he does. Garcia can't come back and jump right into the rotation if and when he does. Maybe they can help each other out. But in this day and age, man, you can never have too many starters. It becomes a real difficult situation with the way things get put together. And the Astros, panic button, no. Warning signs, yeah, big warning signs.
At the beginning of the season, I think you had some questions on whether Hayden Wesneski fit into a rotation spot, given that he has done both, but you thought he was more of a bullpen arm to begin with.
He's a reliever. I mean, he's probably a good one, again, but he's a reliever, right? I don't see the ability to remake himself here. Certainly a big leaguer, and probably a good one, but it's not something that's in the rotation to count on innings like that. And when guys pop, that's usually a sign that something's up anyway, right? Whether it's delivery, whether it's stress, whether it's pitch selection, or all three. Wisniewski belongs in the pen, probably in the back of a bullpen, in the seventh inning, something like that, as a bridge to a Hader and whoever else is there. You never know. Guys like that can turn into closers, right? Especially in the way that closers are used today. But I think Wisniewski's a reliever. I think that when he comes back, he's going to be in the bullpen, and the Astros are once again searching for starting pitching.
I think the Astros would believe Wesneski is a starter. And I think now... So you figure he's not going to be ready for part of 2026 anyways. Now you're going to have to rely on your Ryan Gustos, your Colton Gordons, and two rookies in your starting rotation. If it indeed shakes out that way, that's not a real recipe for success, typically, to have two rookies in a rotation to make a big postseason run.
It puts
that's just, I haven't done the numbers, but I'm guessing that is that would be very few and far between. You could find teams that have gone to a league championship series, World Series with two rookies in the starting rotation.
It puts a lot of stress on them whether or not they sign Valdez too. There's a domino effect there. If Arrighetti can't hold up, even though for whatever reason, Javier's an injury guy, and Garcia's an injury guy, and Wesnewski's an injury guy, people are going to look at this rotation and say, "What do you really got here?" And if I'm Valdez, I'm going, "Look, I go to the mound every 5 days, man. I'm out there every 5 days. You've got four other guys you're paying really well, in theory, who are now not doing that. And you need me. How do I become the best version of me for you?" That's what I'm saying. If I'm him, and then let's go, show me the money.
Well,
That's
Fromber has been really good of late.
that's right.
He's
That's
been
right.
Fromber. He's been Fromber. Hunter Brown has been ace. 1A, 1B. Top of the rotation. You feel really good. But we knew that for the most part coming into the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of hard not to look at that and think and feel good about it. You know what I mean? That's a good couple of guys. Brown's his emergence has been, he really remade himself. I saw him in the futures game, and I told you in LA, reliever, and I say he's a good one. I mean, you say he's a really good one, but he's a reliever. But that's a straight four seam fastball. He gets to Houston, and he has the same type of struggles with that. And then guess what? We're going to worry less about spin rate in the middle of the zone. We're going to start moving balls east and west, and now all of a sudden you got a different guy, right? So what I think it gave the Astros and for Brown was the ability to remake himself that way. I don't see the same ability in other guys. Doesn't mean they can't do it. I just don't see the same ability in other guys that are hurt. So we'll see where it goes, but they definitely need some help.
Makes you wonder what the Astros would do with Hayden Wesneski because he's pre-arbitration eligible. Arbitration eligible 2026, free agent 2030. But, I mean, is there a chance that they would let him go? Probably not, right?
Probably not, probably not. I don't see it. I think he's here. I think he's controllable. I think he's got a lot of the pieces that the Astros need in their payroll flexibility that everybody would like, and he's going to be a big leaguer for a while. So I don't see him going anywhere.
Did you see this from this past week? Former Royals GM Dayton Moore was on a podcast with Eric Hosmer, and Dayton Moore said Jeff Luhnow one day called him in 2013 and said, "Hey, what do you think about Jose Altuve for Eric Hosmer?" Wait, do that again?
What?
Dayton Moore said no, obviously. We were in Houston in 2013. I get a call from Jeff Luhnow. I was sitting at the Starbucks coffee. He said, "I got a deal for you." I said, "Okay." And he said, "I'll trade you Altuve for Eric Hosmer." I said, Nope. I didn't like trading major league players." Hosmer jokingly called Dayton Moore, an idiot for turning down the trade, which Dayton Moore reiterated was a real offer.
Okay. I know Dayton a little bit. Um, Yikes. I mean, I understand where Dayton's at because you don't want to trade off big league roster with a core like that. Remember, I just covered the Royals in 2012, so I knew they were building in the right direction. Um, that's an interesting one. Altuve on that club would have been a completely different game changer for it's their run instead of the Astros run in many ways, because
They did win the World Series in 2015.
they did, but they stopped after that.
Yep.
Right. And if you had Altuve in that position, something that the Royals have struggled with since then, and Hosmer was moved on, then you never know what you got. Right. So, wow, that's interesting. I don't know what else to say about that. I believe Hosmer, good for him for calling Moore an idiot for not trading him. But, wow, Jeff, yowzer.
Let's get into the head of Jeff Luhnow, perhaps. Why do you think he would want to trade Jose Altuve?
Because
Because he's not a analytics play. He is.
the time he's a 5'8" second baseman. At the time. And so you're thinking I might be able to move him. I saw Altuve in Double A, and I thought he was a big leaguer, but I didn't know what kind. It's guys like Altuve are easy to bet against. That's what makes them so fun, right? When they make it. Because they're 5'8" and they run a little bit and they hit a little bit. If you ever think you're projecting 30 home runs or whatever the heck Altuve's ever hit consistently, 20, 18 a year out of him, you're out of your mind. No one's doing that. You're looking at Altuve going, he's going to run, he's going to swing a lot, he's going to play some good second base, which is obviously deteriorate over time, and he's going to be a great makeup guy. He's an extra player every time. It's the same guy that was walked away from by every team but Padrique, right, with the Astros. So and told he had to keep coming back to get on the field to be seen. He's 5'1". Guys don't do that, and so I understand what Jeff was looking at. I also think that that's sometimes the best trades you make for your team are the ones you don't make. So.
Altuve in 2012 was coming off an all-star season, hit 290, 7 homers, 37 runs driven in, had 33 stolen bases, was caught 11 times. But that year had an OPS of 740, knocking on the door of 800.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know why Jeff would want to trade a guy like that numbers wise anyway, but probably because he was 5'8" second baseman and they felt they had a black hole at first base, which they did.
They did. I mean, at that point, you don't have Yuli Gurriel.
True. When did they take Bregman? 15?
15. Come on, Jeremy. You know that.
Correa was 12.
Come on. You had to ask when Alex Bregman was drafted.
I'm trying to think about the whoever else they had. Correa was 12. Appel was 13.
Singleton was in the organization at that point.
Yeah. They knew they didn't have anything. That's all. So they tried to make a trade for a power bat, left-hand hitting power bat.
Gosh, can you imagine getting rid of JD Martinez and Jose Altuve and swinging and missing on 2 number 1 overall picks?
All said and done, look real good, does it? I swung and missed on Whitley too. Whitley's a whiff. Even though he wasn't number 1 overall. Beer's a whiff.
Seth Beer, by the way, was I sent you in a message. He was picked up by the Philadelphia Phillies off the Long Island Ducks squad.
Good for Seth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mick Abel pitched today.
He did. He did. He not only pitched today, he outdueled Paul Skenes.
He was nasty. He was flat out nasty. And I'm writing tonight about it, obviously, because I have so much history with him. You saw Mick Abel at 14 years old.
Yeah.
In Sugarland.
Yeah.
Might have been 15 by then. But you saw him at 15 years old in Sugarland. You might remember, maybe you were there, maybe you weren't, when he came up off the Sugarland mound, gasping for air in the press box, flat on his back, turning different colors.
I don't remember that.
His dad was on one side and I was on the other, and we're like, "You all right?" And he goes, "Uh-huh." I said, "Okay." All right.
Abel went 6 innings, 5 hits, no runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts. Is he one of those guys that could be better in the major leagues than in the minor leagues?
Yeah, Mick in the minor leagues had some command issues. And the funny thing was, when I saw his entire way up, he could throw strikes, like really good. He could put the ball where he wanted to. Command issues was not something I had on my card for his ultimate role. As he settled into his maturity, that's no longer a problem, right? And so he's going to arrive in the big leagues, continue to throw innings, harness his length, stuff is continuing to take jumps. He's a 1 starter. He went 15th in the country because, of course he did. 15, right? But he's that guy that is he's an organizational changer, makeup guy, and he's going to throw a lot of strikes. He's the type of guy people revolve around. He doesn't like the fanfare, doesn't care about the fanfare. You know what Nick wants to do? Give me the ball. Give me the ball. I don't care.
And give him credit. Give him credit, Jeremy, because last year he was 3-12 at AAA, 6.46 ERA. And this year, 5-2 through 8 starts, 2.53 ERA. Now, you talk about command. He walked 78 guys in 108 innings.
Mm-hmm.
with only 107, I shouldn't say only, with 117 strikeouts, which is almost actually more than a strikeout per inning. But when you're walking 78 guys in 108 innings, that then forces you to throw strikes because, or at least pitches that are hittable. And give him credit, man. He has definitely turned it around, definitely unleashed or finally figured some things out. Does it fall in any of those categories?
Falls in the guy. He's got a pedigree of a thoroughbred, and he's got the makeup to match. And it's about putting those things together and letting him play. Mick's had some health issues, minor ones. When I saw him in the futures game, he was mistake prone there too. But being a starter was never in doubt. He's not the type of guy that had to go the other way. This is a frontline #1 starter. And I compared his stuff wise to Chris Benson, and I think he's better. And I said that before. I was leaving it at that. He's better. I think, Chris was nasty. He didn't have the big league career. Mick's going to have the big league career, and it's going to be very good. And it's going to be one we look back on and go, man, that was exceptional. So I'm happy for him. I got a little emotional when he got called to the big leagues, only because not only is that still 2017's event that probably closes the door, I'd say, on guys getting there. Maybe Andrew, another kid the Phillies got, Andrew Walling. Maybe he gets there too. But it also turns around and it says to me, because that's a kid I really shepherded the entire time, right? So we have guys here that are family, like Petey Halpin. We had him for a year, maybe two, and he's family. But Mick and I and his dad, we got tight, and it really was a situation where, you know, the things that he did helped us define who we wanted to be, even as a kid. And so I could not be happier for him and his family. I think I saw a video of Neil high-fiving fans today when Mick was striking guys out. So I was going to be there, and I had to get back home. So I'm here. But I'm looking forward to catching him on the road the next time he comes back up, because he's going to go back down and he's coming back up at some point.
Chris Benson, you bring that name up. Only once with a winning record when he won 10 or more games.
Yeah, Chris didn't have the big league career a lot of people thought he would, but Mick will. Mick will.
Real quick, Orioles, things are not going well in Baltimore. There is a lot of unrest. And then Mike Elias makes the change. Hyde is no longer the manager. And it is amazing to see how things have just come crashing down. I don't know what to say other than it appears maybe a lack of swinging for the fences has hurt this possible run to greatness for the Orioles, because when you look at the drafts and the way things were set up, it seemed like they were on their way. Granted, they play in the American League East, but when you look at what this team has done the past few years, and now, man, I mean, woo.
So
there's obviously this argument there is too much reliance on analytics, that there is very little feel, if any at all. That seems to be the main criticism I see from the people in Baltimore who cover the team, who watch the team, and who follow the team.
I'm not gonna. I said Mike was doing a good job over there, and I do believe he has for the most part. So I'm not gonna turn around and cut myself now. What I will say is that what you have to do is you have to evolve. And my hope was that Mike, once having it his way, would soften some of the perspective because Jeff wasn't guiding it, right? He's been there since 19, so this is 6 years. He probably has one more to start next year. And then if he doesn't, they're not winning, he's out. You don't 7 or 8 years without winning, you're done. And that's just the way that works. It does take 7 years to turn around, but that's why you're seeing it expose itself now. He had something in the cupboard. They were barren. They weren't empty, but they were barren. He had something in the cupboard that turned into some growth. They had a culture change and injection that turned into some better players. And then you're in a situation now where you've got you have to go ahead and add to that. And the Angelos family, who has sold the team, they were never in a position where they really wanted to go add to it. The new owners are showing they don't want to either. They don't want to go augment it. They don't want to trade people. And Mike, if there was one criticism I'd give the Astros that Mike has carried over there, it's that they hold on to their players too long. Sometimes you have to be able to move guys off the roster and before they get to the big leagues to trick people. If you look at the number 1 draft picks, Holiday, it's still too soon. He rocked through the minor leagues, so it's still too soon to tell on him. Either way, Rutschman's a player. Cowser, I think, is going to be all right. I'm not a Kjerstad guy. I know he's been up and down. I'm not a Kjerstad guy. Grayson's been hurt a little bit, but Grayson wasn't Mike's guy. So they have some guys in the front, and they really haven't had a lot of depth. That's what they do. They don't go get a lot of depth over there. But it doesn't mean they're doing a bad job. It just means that they have to evolve before it's too late, and ownership has to let them. What I will say is that Brandon Hyde didn't deserve to be fired. And my information says that goes back to last year, that he was on the hot seat somewhere in the middle of last year and made it this far. Tim Cousins is probably going to go next, and some of the other guys, if he's still there, and some of the other guys are going to go along with it. But I know Brandon says who's at Long Beach State. I know Cuz a long time, Tim Cousins. So I would say that they have some tweaks to make. It's not too late to make them, but they better hurry up. That's what I'll tell you. Because that fan base is ready to win, and they should be. And they're absolutely tired of losing. They're tired of having the hopes dashed, and they're the Mariners of the East. That's what they are. So enough's enough over there for them. Mike's a Virginia guy, originally went to Yale. He should understand that entire belt really well. I don't think he's done a terrible job. I think he's done a good job as a whole. But if you don't evolve, there's a reason. It's either you or it's ownership. And if it's ownership, nothing you can do about it. If it's you better figure it out, because you have a chance to create something pretty good before you get left behind and they clean the whole place out all over again.
That's going to do it for another episode of Extra Bases. Back in the hot seat, Jeremy Booth. Back in this seat, my name is Jason Bristol. Hope to have another one this week as well. Jeremy, thank you for joining us, and we will talk to you next time. Okay. Have a good one, everybody.
You want me to say something?
No, you're good. You're good.